As you know, Britain, which is a constitutional monarchy, is in the midst of a very unique situation with both a new king and a new prime minister. In the throes of this change, their newly appointed Prime Minister Liz Truss spoke with our Prime Minister last night. Why was this call important and necessary?
Well, this call was important and necessary because India and UK, as you just mentioned, have a very strong bilateral partnership, which became a comprehensive strategic partnership some years ago. The two prime ministers meet annually. Last year, because of COVID, they met virtually. And this practice was actually started from the time of Tony Blair. UK was one of the first P5 countries to accord us full support for our candidature for permanent membership to the Security Council. And there is also a vigorous economic relationship. India has very large FDI flows into UK. We have overcome the United Kingdom economy. We are negotiating an FTA which could come by Diwali. And in addition, unlike many other post-colonial relationships, the relationship between India and UK is marked by maturity on both sides and an understanding that we need to turn a page and move onward, which is why there was talk perhaps of our Prime Minister inviting the new British Prime Minister to be our guest on 26th January. We're not yet sure about that. But if that happens again, that would be a very good gesture and quite normal considering that we've had, for instance, the Queen here on historic visits. We've had the new King here when he was Prince of Wales. We've had members of the British family coming and going. And of course, we have these annual summits. So it would not surprise me, Nilova, if we do hear at some point in a couple of weeks' time that Prime Minister Liz Truss has been invited to be our chief guest on Republic Day. It is also in the rightness of things that we observe one day's mourning with flags at half-mast because she was Britain's longest serving monarch. She's overtaken Queen Victoria. She's head of the Commonwealth. Though we don't recognize her as our head of state, we have a very important role to play in the Commonwealth. We made clear from the time we became independent. And in fact, Nilova, we are one of the largest donor countries to the Commonwealth. So we do observe a day of mourning to show our solidarity with the United Kingdom on this sad occasion.
In this 75th year of India's independence from British colonial rule, you know, the roadmap that was chalked out for 2030 becomes sort of even more important as both countries are emerging from the devastating shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I mean, defense and security, I know, form key elements of the partnership. But the fact that there are a variety of new areas that India and Britain are looking at, particularly related to climate change, healthcare collaboration, you know, the most recent of which was, of course, the AstraZeneca-Oxford vaccine. You also mentioned that the FTA is likely to fructify by maybe Diwali this year, that's soon. What are the areas that we can look at for the relationship to go forward in?
It was actually the Commerce Secretary of India who had mentioned about a week ago that the FTA is making great progress and perhaps could be finalized by Diwali. The United Kingdom also has a very understanding perception of the kind of difficulties that India is facing vis-a-vis China. The formation of AUKUS for India was a way to contain the rise of China in the Indo-Pacific, and United Kingdom also appreciates our role in Quad. As far as the Ukraine-Russia crisis is concerned, the United Kingdom has a much better understanding now after several rounds of discussions between our External Affairs Minister and Prime Minister Liz Truss when she was Foreign Secretary about the position that we have on this issue. So it is not an obstacle or a hindrance. We have gone ahead on the basis of mutual understanding of each other's position. And certainly the UK today, as I said, understands the importance of a rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific, the role of Quad, and the whole point of the formation of AUKUS was to bring in two important NATO countries, United States and the United Kingdom, to give strength to Australia, an important Quad member, and like India facing China in this strategic area. So all in all, the defense partnership too has great potential. We have been doing joint exercises, and we are looking at positively at whether we should get some hardware from UK based on transfer of technology. So all these things are marching ahead as we speak.
India, for example, is the second largest foreign investor in the United Kingdom. The UK ranks about 18th as a trading partner of India and third after Mauritius and Singapore as an investor in this country. So what are the potential areas that both countries are looking at?
Well, actually, the huge Indian FDI flows, which have been continuing now for almost 2 decades, completely transformed the India-UK business partnership from what it was as in a post-colonial context to India becoming not just one of the largest investors in the UK, but also the owner of very large properties in the city of London, for example, where we overtook the Russians some time back. We have also bought over some important companies, and post-Brexit, while there was talk that maybe some Indian companies will leave the city of London and move maybe to Amsterdam or to some other part of the continent or to Ireland, that hasn't happened. In fact, post-Brexit, Indian corporates based in United Kingdom have been a source of great support to the UK economy as it comes out of the pandemic. You know, the UK economy was badly hit by the pandemic and it had not recovered from the adverse impact of Brexit. It was cut off from partnership where it had the protection of the EU tariffs, regulations, etc., which is why United Kingdom desperately needs this FTA with India and is quite accommodating on some of our concerns, which is why we've been able to move ahead. So many common areas of investment which we can look at, and they include agricultural products, they include healthcare, work with pharmaceuticals. We've used the AstraZeneca very effectively, and now, of course, our own indigenous vaccines. So all in all, there are many, many areas where we can look at for further collaboration, including, as you rightly point out, in defense, which is a whole new area which we can look at, because earlier we were focused on first former USSR, then Russian Federation, then United States is gradually becoming, a large contributor of our weapon systems, and so is France. So UK has some catching up to do, but it's an area that we can look at very positively because they have a lot that could be of great interest to us for our armed force.
No, the other very interesting thing is that the two countries decided to go ahead on collaborating in research, not just for healthcare, but in a variety of other areas. And this is something that we've not been doing very much about. Research in terms of the development of clean energy and transport and new technologies, protecting nature and biodiversity, and helping developing countries adapt to the impact of climate change. So this is another crucial area in which India are now looking to collaborate. It's one of the sort of future areas, other than, of course, the blue economy of the seas. These are areas that you think will go a long way, right?
Indeed. In fact, climate change is something which is of great interest to the new British monarch, King Charles III. He has spent a lot of his time as Prince of Wales working on climate change issues. He also strongly supported right from the beginning our solar energy project, the fact that we have the Solar Alliance, so many countries have joined, supports India's efforts to move to renewable energy. And certainly there is much that we can learn from the UK on climate change issues and on the blue economy. And also the United Kingdom has an excellent record of encouraging research and development, R&D in key industries. This is something again that we can collaborate together, because there is no doubt that they, like many European countries, have a very rigorous approach to R&D, which we also are now embracing. And this is again an area that we can look at as we move ahead.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Ambassador Mukherjee.
Thank you.